sometimes connections come from unexpected places, and I think we could see that in all of these films: family, community, creativity, mentorship, service, and even adversity. And I think that's it. Is that it? One more. Okay. And I think we can see that in all of these films, and I hope you were able to see some of those themes throughout here. So I'm going to ask 2 questions, and then I'm going to throw it out to the audience so that you can ask your own questions. So hello. Congratulations. Nice job. Round of applause. Tell us your film, and then what sparked your interest in making this film, and is it at all connected to yourselves? Okay.
Hi everybody. Thank you all for coming, and congrats guys, seriously great work. My name is Ahmad Mustafa Ghanem. I am the co-writer and co-producer of Pigskin, and this is a collaborative effort between me and Teshna, so I'll let her introduce herself and speak on our behalf. But
Hi everybody. I'm Teshna Lodi. I am the director of Pigskin and co-writer. And there were a lot of questions, but should I keep passing on? So Pigskin was something that Omar had come to me and sort of had this idea of a film that he wanted to make based off of his experience as a football player in high school who was Muslim and some of the things that he went through. And sort of together we figured out what kind of story it would be. I sort of took a stab at a story from obviously what he was telling me he experienced, and my own experience growing up with in a family of Islamic faith and different generations, and how you practice that and the experiences that you would go through. And I had recently, I think it was sort of kismet, I had recently asked my father, who is obviously of a different generation, what he had experienced in terms of racism or Islamophobia or any of that, and he, dead face, was like, I haven't. Which I found very difficult to believe. And his relationship with that was very different from my own. So kind of came up with this story, and we worked on it together and refined it. I got a lot of notes on actual football terms. And together we made this, hopefully a dialogue and an open conversation of what it means to be practicing faith, and what that looks like for different generations and different people in general, and hopefully it sparks a conversation, which is what we were hoping to do.
Hi everybody, my name is Anthony Jones, and I'm the director of Heroes Among Us, Kid Electric. First, I just want to thank everybody here and thank RoxFilm, because this is my first film festival. So this film was important to me because, when I was younger, I grew up homeless for 10 years of my life, and like one of the things that I always held on to was I wanted to be a filmmaker when I grew up, and so that's a lot of with this character is him being homeless. He reads a lot of comic books, and he always wanted to be like the heroes that he read about in comic books when he was younger. So that's kind of what drives him forward in his story, and it's kind of what inspires him to want to be better. And as I got older and I started to learn more about the industry, and learn about like the ins and outs of it and how hard it can be and how dark it can sometimes be, that was something I wanted to take and put this character through, with him learning what it means to be a hero, because for him, You know, it's like watching those Saturday morning cartoons. It's like always black and white. You know who the heroes are, but he starts to learn that like it's not so easy to kind of like discern the two, and it's something that he has to learn. There are levels to people, and there are levels to people's stories, and yeah, so it was a lot about how I experienced life, and this story was me essentially telling that story.
Congratulations to all of you, obviously, really dope films. My name is Manuel Fidalgo. I did The Missing Piece. There's connection with the plot that all these stories were really personal. I tried not to make the story too personally about me. The main character doesn't reflect me, and the story itself isn't a story that I went through, but I do feel that it's universal to tell a story about grief that comes with a mixture of emotions. It's sort of like you don't know whether you're mourning or celebrating, and that's something else you saw in the other movie. So I wanted to tell a story that you sort of saw your experience in, but it was tough to grasp which way it was going.
Curating this block, we felt so much love and connection, and as you say, everyone sort of like we saw so much of our lives and everyone else's lives in these movies, and this is why we sort of like put them all together. So I'm wondering, when you saw all of them together, and they are personal to you, and I don't know if it's the first time you see them up on the big screen, like how are you, what's your reaction to that? How is that feeling for you?
So seeing our film.
Mm-hmm. And then all together and in this blog and this whole connection and your lives, really. I mean, these are personal, so I'm just curious as to how are you feeling?
So this is my second time seeing this on a big screen, so I'll let you guys talk about that. But I want to say about the other films that we watched, it felt like entering someone's home. Like really, it felt really personal. Like grief is such an isolating experience sometimes, and some of these things that we go through. So you feel like you're alone. So watching films like this, it feels like you're almost like someone else is holding your hand, like you're experiencing it together. But I'll pass it down.
I think one of the things the biggest thing I took away and that I kept thinking about is how genre was not necessarily a through line. And I think that speaks to filmmaking. Everybody has a different way of processing what they go through in life, and how comedic do you take it? How dramatic do you take it? What's the mix of that? We saw some horror elements in there as well, and so I think it just speaks to the importance of filmmaking and art in general, whatever your artistic expression is, because it's going to come out however it's going to come out, which is individual to the person. So I think watching all these films was amazing, and you can really see, even between your two films, how you express whatever you were going through. Yours is a comic book, it's action and something I think a general audience might, we associate comic book movies and action movies with a certain kind of sort of popcorn theater, and to know that there's always a sort of underlying emotion to that, and I felt very connected to yours with particularly the use of food, and food is very connecting in human culture, so it was very grounding in that. So I think genre and the way that we express emotion is amazing in film, so that's what I took away.
So yeah, this was definitely my first time seeing it on a big screen. So that was cool and awesome. It was definitely a surreal moment, and I'm sure you guys can all sympathize with this, kind of like picking it apart, like, okay, like this does sound good on the speakers, or oh wow, it does actually look good, like bigger. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on, but one thing about this being in this block of films, it made me realize more about my own film, because yes, there very much was a whole theme of connections and him trying to find like where he belongs and how he fits in the world, but it wasn't, you know, the thing that like I started out thinking of when I wrote it, right? And so it's just it's really interesting to see that like I'm still learning stuff about my own film. You know, even though I'm the one that wrote it and directed and I told the story, it's, you know, like one of the greatest quotes that I always heard was like, once we make the film and we put it out there, it's no longer ours, it becomes other people's. And so watching it in the audience, it's like, oh, I'm picking up new things about my own film, you know? So yeah, it was a very awesome and surreal moment to be able to experience that.
Yeah, so like you said, it felt super familiar. Like my cousin asked, like, did you guys work on all of these? Because I was like, because you kind of couldn't tell. I mean, and also the production value on all your movies was amazing, which obviously you must have known.
And I didn't do the production value. I saw the production value, it was beautiful.
But it sort of felt like we had talked before. Like you saw the themes, you sort of saw the editing style. The love and time, like I could tell you guys must have gone through a little bit of hell making this thing, so yeah, familiarity.
All right, so I want to open it, thank you. I want to open it up to the audience. Do the audience have questions for these amazing filmmakers? Oh, come on, there's too many of you not to have a question. Go ahead.
So for the Kid Electric one, I really felt that there was a lot of inspiration behind it, but what would you say was the biggest one for you?
My biggest inspiration is just a lot of like the Marvel and DC comics. The Marvel comics just for like the humor and the lightheartedness, but like DC comics of like the dark undertones. Because I have a lot of these characters, and with all of them, the connecting theme is that they all deal with a lot of human, personal stories, and I want to be able to bring that to the comic book genre rather than it just being like explosions and stuff.
Congrats. What's next for you guys?
That's a great question. I think I have lots of ideas. Who knows if any of them stick? I'm lucky enough to work in the film industry here in Massachusetts freelance, and so I get to actually work as a production manager and AD as my day job. And I get to watch a lot of other people work and also champion them. So I am actually working on other people's work right now. And it's also, I recommend anybody do that who wants to be an artist of any kind, because you can only give if you have a full cup. So take in other people's art and figure out what is going on in here to make art and other things.
Pigskin was a fascinating experience for me. So I'm like, primarily I'm an actor, so I'm like, I'm just gonna keep acting for a while and appear in other people's stuff. But I have a feature film that is my first leading role. It's an independent film. It's called What Only Cicadas See, and we'll hopefully be premiering it sometime next year. I'll be watching it for the first time in a couple of weeks, and I am extremely nervous, but I'm excited. But yeah, like just trying to come up with some ideas just to see what I can follow up Pigskin with and see what else is rattling around up there. But you guys, what do you got?
Well, like I said earlier, I have other characters, and I'm definitely in talks with a lot of people who have seen the movie, who are talking to me about hopefully funding either another short or something else, but I'm definitely hoping that there will be other stories of these other characters soon, and I also would love for Kid Electric to return back.
I am going out to Cabo Verde actually to go shoot a short film with Anika Noni Rose, who's a wonderful actress. Which will be photography in September.
I'd like to know, you know, a lot of prep and time goes behind the scenes, so I'd like to know from each one of you how much time it took to get this with
Good question. How much time it took for you to complete from beginning to now, from writing to this? How long did it take?
I can say where to start.
2 years. 2 years? 2.5 years. So that was from the initial ask of, hey Tishna, I have an idea, can you help? To actually like submitting to a film festival for the first time and having it be done. Yeah, so 2.5 years. It's a lot of work.
Funnily enough, also 2 years for me as well. All the stuff that was on the rooftop, that was just filmed like 6 months ago, because I wasn't originally happy with it. So, it was one of those, like, it was in there for so long, and then I was finally like, yeah, it just needs to be changed, because again, this is my first film festival. This is my first film festival run this year. So I was like, if I'm gonna put something out, you know, I want it to be the best that it can, because I'm extremely hard on myself. This may be like my first film festival, but like I am a director. I do direct a lot, and I'm always like, it's not ready, you know, like, so yeah, I very much was hard on myself with this one. So yes, 2 years. As far as prep goes, I'm very big on prep, so I storyboard a lot of my stuff. I draw all of my frames, and that was, I want to say, about 4 months before we started shooting. So yeah.
So I started writing it probably in like 21, but then I put the script away and then came back to it. So like all in all, 3.5. But by the time we got started, it all happened pretty quickly, maybe like 9 months. And where did you shoot that ledge scene, by the way?
So I'm from St. Louis. So we literally, I met someone who is an owner of like a bunch of apartments, and he was renovating one, and he was like, yeah, you can come and shoot up here, but we are gonna be renovating the day after, so it'll be perfect time for you to come over here and shoot it. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, turns out the day after was actually the day we were shooting. So dealt with that. That wasn't fun at all. No, he was totally fine with it. Yeah. I mean, I sat up there, I'm very much afraid of heights, and I also believe that like, you shouldn't ask someone to do something that you wouldn't do. So I was like, hey, I'll sit out there first, and then I feel comfortable with you doing it, because I know if I can do it, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great scene. That was
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
really good. Any other questions?
What was the most difficult part of the process, and what did you all learn?
What was the most difficult part of the process, and what did you all learn from it?
There's a lot of, it's all difficult. It's like the whole thing is difficult. But it was funny when you guys were talking, I was thinking about something with the last question. So this story is obviously inspired by like my real life experience, as I was like one of the only Muslims in my high school and the only one on my football team. And then I was looking to cast a teenage Muslim, Arab, athletic, like could act, like someone who would be convincing, and it was we put out backstage casting. We were like asking people and just trying to find somebody, and we had interviewed a few people, and you know, they were good, but it's with casting, you know, they have to be the thing that you see in your mind, right? And so this is just a tiny funny story. I was at the mosque for Friday prayer, and I was wearing my SAG Actors on Strike t-shirt. This was years ago, and then was one dude came up to me, he's like, "You're an actor? I'm an actor." And we became friends, and I told him about Pigskin. I'm saying this really fast. And I told him about Pigskin and how we needed money. And so he's like, "I know somebody who has money." And he put me in connection with Shah Jahan. And then I told Shah Jahan, I was like, "Hey, we need money." And he's like, "I don't have money, but I have an actor." And he put me in contact with Eunice, and Eunice ended up starring as Ahmed. So stuff like that is the thing. That's the thing. So it just shows you this festival. It champions, you know, minority voices and people of color, and here we are trying to make a story about, you know, Arab Muslims in America and how hard it is to just find one. One. So that was, for me, that was one of the hardest things that I experienced. But you know, Tiffany, let them know.
The hardest thing about directing anything is properly communicating what's in your head to a bunch of people with their own perspectives and their own lives and their own artistic abilities, and being able to get what's in your head on the screen in the way that you want it, while also honoring, like, this was inspired by Omar's story and his experience. How do I honor Omar, and how do I honor Eunice's experience of being a Muslim person? And so how do I honor all the people who don't get to tell me their experience? And how do I say something in a way that is sort of, you know, paradoxical? Is the more specific you are, the more universal it is. And so how do I show what we're trying to show while it being very, frankly, blatant what we're trying to say, while still coming away with it hopefully feeling like if you aren't a Muslim American, you can relate. But if you are a Muslim American, you relate on a level that other people watching are not going to relate to it. So being able, you know, just finding the very thin line that is, and walking it, and trying to nail it and honor what you're trying to do. That's always hard. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, like I said, the hardest part was the reshoot. That was definitely, I made the wrong decision, so I just have stuck with the original one. But you know, we did it, we persevered, and yeah, I'm honestly happier with the reshoots than I was with the original. So that's how I knew that, like, I did it for the right reason. And everybody that came back and showed up for that, they all did it for free, and I appreciate all of them. And yeah, we made it, and we're all extremely happy with it. But yeah, that reshoot, it was like every single thing that could go wrong went wrong. I mean, from, like, you know, I was told on the scout day that there was gonna be a working elevator. Guess what? There was not. So that was walking up gear, up flights of stairs. I was told that there was gonna be parking for crew. Guess what? There wasn't. So yeah, it was just, it was literally every single thing that could go wrong with the production went wrong.
So what she said, that was really good. Paradoxical, I think she said. It was honestly a big shout out to everyone in this room. They actually gave me all the money to make this movie. Turning around and telling somebody you're gonna go make a movie, which is like, doesn't feel like a real life thing. It feels like play. So the fact that they all showed up and supported, I think asking them to give their hard-earned money for me to go play was the hardest. And then getting up here.
I just want to thank you for your vision, for the work that you've done, and good luck in your future. future endeavors. We can't wait to have you back here. It's really incredible. A round of applause, please.